Hello, welcome to Make With Me Monday. My name is Robin French Smith. I'm one of the co-owners of Bath Fizz and Foam. Today's Monday, so it's time to make something with me together. She's making noises. I don't know why. Hold on. My AC unit is like really. Okay. No, don't. You were good for a second. I don't know. Anyway, I hope you can't hear it rattling in the back. It's Monday though. It's time for Make With Me Monday. Okay. Today we're gonna make witch sugar scrubs, and I'm very happy to be able to show you something I bought a while ago that I've been waiting to show you guys. So first, let me grab some gloves. I've been waiting to show you guys some jars I bought probably like 2 months ago. I bought them a couple months ago. So I've been sitting on them. And there have been a couple times I wanted to use them, like I was tempted to use them for salts. But I didn't do it, even though I was like really tempted to, because I wanted to keep it as a surprise for this. So this is the leftover from some other batches I did. Did you see that? Yeah, I know. Mic drop. You don't even have to watch the rest of this. I just did the coolest part right there. I will share links in the description for where I got those, but basically I got them from US Plastics. It's just their website is not very like user friendly, so you have to gotta like search for stuff, and you have to use weird keywords and stuff like that. So I will include a direct link to where I got these direct exact ones. Okay, my promise to you, as your candidate, my promise to you is that I'm gonna give you the direct links. It's an election year. Sometimes it's that every 4 years where you lose friends and just like, goodbye family, I don't know you. All right. Facebook is being, I'm with the comments, with the no comments, with the comments. 3 comments. It says right here, 3 comments. Okay. Cindy says hello. Hello. I'm gonna pretend like it's right here, so I'm reading it. Liz says that's cool. I know. Or sorry, Elizabeth. I don't know if you go by Liz. I just did that. I should have asked. Lorna says amazing. Thank you. I know, right? Nancy says good afternoon. Amy says hi, and I'm including links. Blah blah blah. Ignore those. Okay, let's get started. So I'm gonna start off with some of the whipped soap base, and I made this ahead of time, so you can, when you use the ebook, there's 2 ways you can use it, and then within those 2 ways there are 3 different forms that you can use it with. So you can do a single batch, or you can do a master batch. So a single batch would be you make an exact whipped sugar scrub. You use all the ingredients to make a whipped sugar scrub at one time, and that's what you do. You make 1 batch of whipped sugar. That. The other way is to do a master batch, where like I do like this much, okay, and then I pull from it when I'm ready to use it. And then I'll have to tweak it a little bit because, for example, the sugar scrub, I want to add a little bit more glycerin and oil to it so that it's a little bit more moisturizing, since we're going to be exfoliating. Plus, the base has enough preservative to preserve it. And if I'm going to be adding 23 extra ounces of ingredient, I'm going to need to increase the amount of preservative in here, but I'm going to talk you through that. I was going to pour it ahead of time, and I was like, no, I'm going to talk them through that. Okay. All right, so I'm going to start off with some base. I'm gonna start off with some base, and the recipe is written in amounts, like specific amounts, but it's also written in preservatives. It's written in percentages, so that you could easily scale this if you needed to, which I did need to because I want to make 6-ounce sugar scrubs. Okay, so what you can do is you can take the percentage that's listed and you can say, okay, if I need 6-ounce sugar scrubs, I'm going to need 36 ounces of product total. Okay, and then you use the percentage and you say what is, so like say one ingredient is 20% of the recipe, you go into like a percentage calculator, which is the easiest way to do it, and you say what is 20% of 36. Although I would turn it into grams, I wouldn't keep it at 36. I'd say I turn it into grams just because I'm more accurate. But yeah, so sometimes people will message us and they're like, it's in percentages and I don't know how to use it. So that's how you use it if it's in percentages. Okay, and then you could just scale it to whatever size you need. I do try to factor like a 1 to 2% loss whenever I'm doing that. So like say it was 100 grams, then I would calculate for like what would it be for 101 grams or 102 grams, because you're going to lose a little bit of product between transferring and stuff like that. So hopefully not a ton, but you will lose a little bit. And so you don't want to like just do it for the exact number and then you're like, oh, I'm like half an ounce short or something like that. Okay, so I have my 13 ounces of product in here, and all my material, like all my utensils and stuff, I sterilize them ahead of time. But it is important to make sure that everything that you're using is nice and clean and sterile. If there's preservatives in it, because there's water in the recipe, but also like we want to make sure that we're keeping it nice and clean. I was just looking at this right now and I realized that I don't actually have my like whisk in there. I just have the beater. I don't know if I've ever just tried the beater, so we're gonna try it right now and see what happens. So I put the base in there and I'm gonna give it a couple minutes to kind of whip up. I'm looking down there to see if my beater's down there. It's not. It might be. Hello, Beta. Beta? Where'd she go? Hold on. Wes? Okay, well she ain't in here. I need a hero. My hero came. You guys, I'm gonna marry that man, okay? He just brought me a whisk. What? I'm gonna make an honest man out of him someday. I'm telling you, okay? It probably would work with a regular beater, okay? I think it just would take time, and it might not be as fluffy. For a whipped sugar scrub, it's not as important. That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna be like, oh, it's not as important, but I mean, you do want that volume. You do want it to be fluffy. Otherwise, it's just a dense, boring sugar scrub. Okay. Get off. She's so thick. Okay. All right. Okay, hold on. I might scrape this more, but let me stop hyperfixating on that for just a second and put this in here. Okay. Look at that. Oh my God. Okay. Now we're going to be whipping air into it. So This is a great development for everybody involved. I'm going to just keep being super extra and scraping off the little teeny tiny bits of this as we talk. Okay, so I talked about the percentages of it all. Next, we're going to talk about what I'm going to be adding to it. So I'm going to be adding some glycerin because, like I said, this is a whipped scrub, so it's going to be exfoliating, and I don't want it to be too drying. So I want to add some glycerin to kind of leave the skin feeling nice and moisturized, I'm sure. I'm also going to add some avocado oil. Now, personally, I think that the base is perfectly fine on its own. I don't think that it really needs the addition of avocado oil or the addition of, I mean, a little extra glycerin is never going to hurt anybody. I'm just saying, like, I don't think it needs it, but if you want to include it, you can. I included them because I knew that people would want to be able to include them. Does that make sense? But, like, you could just use the base as is if you wanted to. It would also be perfectly fine. Okay. I want to show you the different stages of the whip. Look at this. Look at this. Okay. You can't see it. You can see it. You can't. You can. You cannot. Okay, anyway, on top, it's starting to get glossy, like meringue. And inside, it's starting to pull away from the edges a little bit. So I'm going to knock this down. I'm going to scrape the sides to make sure I'm getting all the sides incorporated into what's happening. Okay. Alright, scraping the sides, scraping the sides. So I might have mentioned this, but like I'm speaking at the HSCG conference this year again, and I'm like, this time I'm just doing like a demonstration for how to make bath bombs. But also, I'm trying to convince that man. So, you know, if you guys could be like, also, like, yeah, come with her, okay? Just trying to say. Okay. All right. Okay, I scraped everything. Got that all scraped. It still doesn't look like a lot more than what we initially put in there, right? But it's about to kind of explode and get a lot of volume to it in just a sec. So I'm putting it up a little bit higher. If you're making whipped soap and you're not adding the sugar to it, is that terribly loud? If it is, I'm sorry. If you're making whipped soap and you're not adding the sugar to it, you do want to be a little bit more careful about how much air you whip into it. Any whipped soap can fall and collapse. In my opinion, this one is less prone to that than others that I tested when I was trying to working on this recipe basically. So it's just a reality of it though. And so if you're going to be shipping them, like I would put a disclaimer in there that says like, this is a handmade product, and also just, it's the nature of the product that it may collapse or fall or something, you know? Okay, that's looking good. I'm going to now add my avocado oil. Yeah, get in there. And I'm going to go ahead and add my fragrance right now because it is unscented originally, so I'm going to add my fragrance. Okay. And this is all like, I don't know, I haven't seen, hold on. Let me look and see what the master batch says about this. Hold on. What does it say? Dropbox is like my best friend lately. I've been using it for a lot of stuff. Okay, hold on. Where's she at? Where's she at? Okay, so in the master batch recipe, we don't give like percents for fragrance or for the oil that you want to add and stuff like that. I do think that I say like pull this much out and add this much to it. But basically, like, if I just use them at 1%. I used my fragrance and my liquid oil and my glycerin. I just calculated them at 1% because it's easy. And like, why not if it's easy? Okay, I'm going to now turn the speed up just a little bit because she's getting real close. It's so exciting. It's the most exciting thing you've ever seen. Yeah, so I think let's check comments. Okay, hi, a lot of people saying hi. Kendra said check the sink. I was probably like next to the sink in like the queue of things that have been cleaned and sanitized and need to come back over. Okay, we're just gonna turn it up. Ain't got time for her nonsense at the moment, okay? Now the fragrance I use is a discoloring fragrance because I use Fruit Loops because this is going to be a serial killer sugar scrub for arguably the best time of year. Halloween or fall, whatever. If you're in a different part of the world and you don't celebrate Halloween, number one, I'm sorry. Number two, there's still a way you could incorporate this into whatever season you're in. If you're in, how does it work? If you're in Australia, is it spring for you now? Do you know what I'm saying? Is that how it works? Is it spring now for people in Australia? I went to a very small private school that didn't really focus on facts. Okay. So sometimes I just don't know those facts. Okay. They were busy getting us ready for Jesus to come back. Okay, so we didn't learn no facts. But that's okay. I still can use them now. Alright, so I have this base. She's looking good. I'm just going to go ahead and add, I've been debating whether I should add this sugar before or after the color. I think I'm just going to go ahead and add the sugar now because it's easier, and then split the batch and add the color into the split batches. Does that make sense? So I'm going to add, I knew there was a reason I did that. Hold on. I'm going to add 20 grams of sugar. No, no, strike that. 20 ounces of sugar. And I'll tell you how many grams those are in just a second. I could, if it drives you absolutely bonkers that I'm going between grams and, it's like, I don't know. If it drives you bonkers, I'm sorry. I think it's like 600 grams. I'm just making things up now. You could just, it's just, I'm not generally, like, I'm not as precise with the 575. That's what that says. I'm not quite as precise with the amount of sugar that I add every time. Although, I will say that I was making a few different batches. So I made this batch first, okay? And I had this much left over. Wild, right? So, then I made this batch, and I had 0 left over, but I added more sugar to it. And in this batch, I added even more sugar, but I also added more glycerin and oil. And this batch ended up being so dense that I had to go make, I think, 2 ounces extra to top them all off because I wanted them to all be at 6 ounces. So it's just something you have to keep in mind. So sometimes if you're adding more sugar, you're actually making your product denser, and so it's not going to be like as light and fluffy, which is fine. This is 6 ounces, this is 6 ounces, and this is like 7 ounces. I'm going to label them all as 6 ounces, but it's just something to keep in mind, like, you know. Is this another one of those science things where it's like if you add dense things to it, then it's denser? Mine like so blown. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna separate it into 3 containers. And we're gonna be whipping it some more too anyway, so it's like, don't be worried about it. She's fine. Is this taking so much longer than I feel like it should? Perhaps. Okay. Let's see. Total is 23, 5, 26, 36. 36 because remember 6 times 6 is 36. Remember that? Remember that? It's just, you know, hi. 36 divided by 3. Okay, 12. I already knew that one too. I was just testing you to see if you knew that one. Alright, we're going to put 12 ounces in each thing, and then we're going to color it. And then we're going to put it in bags, and then we're going to put it in containers, and then, or maybe we won't put it in bags. I haven't decided yet on that actually. So pause on that. Hold on. Okay, 12. Yeah. I think I just color them. I'll color at least 1 by hand or 2 by hand. Alright. So the colors, because this is Fruit Loops. Now I don't, when I make my when I make the emulsified body butter, I've never had problems with it like turning brown, even when I use like straight vanilla fragrance oil. So I'm not concerned about that really, because part of what happens when it's turning brown is oxidation and just kind of some other exposures to sunlight and stuff like that. But in my experience, it doesn't happen as often with like just straight, you know what I'm saying? So it doesn't happen like when it's in a container or a jar as often. I'm not saying it never does. It just is not as often that it just turns the whole thing brown. So because of that, I'm using a discoloring fragrance oil, so I'm not really that concerned about it, you know what I'm saying? Alright, we're going to put, we're going to put some yellow in here. I mixed this yellow up ahead of time so I could have a nice bright color. And I'm adding that yellow. I'm going to go ahead and start whipping it. Let's see what happens. Whip it. And then I'm going to do the other 2 by hand, probably. Okay. This one's going to be pink. One of my favorite ways to do rainbow stuff is to just do these 3 colors. Pink, yellow, and blue. And when you do pink, yellow, and blue, and then they bleed together, you get a rainbow effect. That's really cool. It can kind of depend on how you're combining them with each other. But yeah, it's pretty cool when it happens. Okay, I'm just going to mix this one by hand and mix the other one by hand. I probably could have used smaller bowls. What do I know? Probably should have also whipped it like a little bit longer. Okay. There's blue. Now your colors are always going to kind of be pastel. Like you're using, your base is white. So your colors are going to kind of always be pastel. You could use more color if you wanted to and make it a deeper, like more deeply saturated. You could use dyes if you wanted to, although I haven't tried dyes. But I feel like they would probably not be a good choice. But if you use them and you like them, let us know in the comments, because I always like learning new things too, okay? Well, I don't know how this is gonna turn out. I've never actually tried to do this where I like split the 3 colors like this for a scrub. For a whip soap, I've done this plenty of times, and I think that, well, okay, I'm lying. I split those 2 over there, but the way that I did those, or those 3 over there, but the way I did those is like, for the green and blue one, I just turned the entire batch green, and then when I was ready to turn it blue, I just turned the entire rest of the batch that was left over blue. I haven't tried to split it like this in this way, is what I'm trying to say. So we're about to find out what's happening. Sip for courage. I have seen people use mini ice cream scoops to fill up their jars. I have no clue if this is actually more efficient or faster or anything like that. But I'm still gonna try it. All right. We are gonna go ahead and do this. No, wait. Okay, I'm gonna take a scoop of my yellow. Babe. What just happened? Did I just fall in love? Okay, hold on. Shut up. Why does that work so well? It's almost like it's intended to be like scooping things or something, right? So weird. Okay. I don't know why it's so thrilling and makes me so happy, but it sure does. Okay. Now I could try like really hard to not get the colors to mix, but I also really don't care if they mix, so. You could use, I'm sure like if you had 3 scoopers, you know, you could do 3 scoopers and then they wouldn't get mixed up in the containers. But shut up. Okay. They're not as fluffy as I want them to be, so I did probably not whip the base as much as I should have, which is fine. Actually, I'm gonna see if whipping the yellow with this paddle helps bring it a little bit more volume. But it might be too late because we've already added the sugar. I don't know. But I'm gonna see. But either way, does it really matter? Does it even matter? Let me put fresh gloves on. I mean, does it even matter? Look at how pretty she is. Oh yeah, that might be the way over there. You know, I take a lot of notes. Like I have entire notebooks where I take notes, but sometimes I don't write down like the process that I do because I forget that sometimes it's like part of it. Anyway, look. Okay, and then we get our snap top cap. Cap on, and then we have this little rainbow. I would probably should fill it up to the top. That's would be my suggestion. If you were like in a class with me or something, I'd be like, yeah, fill it up to the top, because yeah, you don't want to just leave it like not full. Okay, so I'm gonna fill this one up to the top, but then I'm probably gonna scoop it out later, refluff the entire thing, of raisins. Because I want it to be at the 6 ounces just like the other ones. Because right now it's like 9 ounces, so. I don't mind going a little bit over, but that's a little bit too much over. And you can see right there where it's like started to kind of rainbow. Another thing you could do is instead of keeping them separate when you're like putting them into the jar, is that you could put them in a piping bag. I don't really like to use piping bags with sugar scrubs. I feel like it's too like dense and tough to work with. But you could if you want, like if that was your deepest desire and you wanted to do that. I'm gonna hold off on that and I'm gonna show you. Excuse me, madam. With this extra that I have over here, I'm gonna show you. Okay, so somebody would come and then they would go, oh, look at that texture. Look at that texture. Like I said, the green is the fluffiest, or the green blue one was the fluffiest one. So I'm about to slam it and see if I can make it collapse. Ladies and gentlemen, she has not collapsed at all. Not even a little bit. So that's one of the reasons I think that using it as a sugar scrub is probably your best bang for your buck, because not only does it not collapse, I guess it could technically collapse. I've never had a sugar one collapse. The whipped soap is going to be a little bit more finicky, but like also you take your base and then you double it with extra sugar, right? So like you're getting more out of your whipped soap base. So anyway, I will include a link in the description where you can get the ebook, although it's pinned in the comment section right here. I'll also include links to where you can get the jars, where you can get the ingredients to make the whip soap, right? I'm gonna include any links, okay? Any links I can think of. Where I got my little hat thing. Any links I can think of. And then if I can't think of it, then you can ask about it, and then I will also include it. That's because that's sometimes how it works. Okay, let me see comments. Kelly says it's spring. In Australia? Is that how that works? What did I mix my color with before adding it to my scrub? Did I use mica? These are liquid lakes. So this is liquid lakes. And it's something I'm still playing with, so I'm not like 100% sure. I think I tested them last time with the drizzle. So hold on, I added ducks to the drizzle, so it might not be as easy to see. But I did them last time with that drizzle, and then I did them again with a different drizzle, and got some better results when I kind of like mixed up how I did it. So this is the one. These are the ones I did with the drizzle. Still liquid lakes. I just tweaked the formula that I'm doing. This one ended up a little bit better. Still a little bit spotty, but I'm just still testing it. But yeah, you can buy liquid lakes. They're not as easy to find, but you can buy them. I don't know where you could. I know you can buy them because I've bought them in the past. I currently don't know where you would buy them from because it's been so long since I bought them. So I'm still working on that formula to make sure that it's perfect and works with like lots of different recipes. So I'm not 100% on that yet. But it's liquid lakes is what it was. Okay. Oh, sorry. Wait, what? Pocket. That's where you went. Okay. And do I know how the whip soap base compares to Wholesale Supplies Pluses? So I used Crafter's Choice, Stevenson's, and I think there was a third one. Also, Make Your Own Buzz has a free recipe. So I used like pre-made bases, and then I also used and tested a bunch of other like free whip soap base recipes out there. I'm I'm trying to remember which one was my favorite one, but the reason that one of the ingredients in this is bioturge, which is alpha olefin 1416 or something, is like the chemical name for it. But the reason that I use that is because my favorite base included that as a co-surfactant, and a lot of the free bases that I found free base a lot of the free whip soap recipes online that I found were just SCI or just SLSA, and they left my skin like feeling so dry and raw. So this is modeled after a pre-bought base, but I can't remember off the top of my head if it was Stevenson's or Wholesale Supplies Plus. I guess I could just like really quick I feel like it was Stevenson's, but I also can't tell at the moment. Whipped soap base. We'll look at the ingredients. Foaming bath butter. I'm sure. Let's see. Not this one. Okay. Hold on. Let's try this one. Crafter's Choice. Wet soap base. Let's see. Maybe it's this one. It's also not this one. So I don't know which one I used. I did model this after a pre-bought base that I really liked though. So I think it performs better than the store bought with bases, personally. I think I'm trying to put my phone in my pocket. Nothing weird's happening. Okay. Anyway. Wait, that's the only way I can see comments. Come on. All right. Let me see. So I'll have to look it up. But no, I don't know you. All right. I think that those are all the questions that I see at the moment. If you are interested, I guess I could also, hold on. Do I have, I mean, I have like distilled water. I got paid water in here. Ow. I guess I could show you how it felt. So one of the other ingredients that's in here that's a little bit unique is an ingredient called sorbitol. And the reason it's in here is because when I would do the base without it, if my hands were wet and I tried to put the base onto my hands, it would like bead away from my hands. And so I found that adding that sorbitol like solved that problem. So that's why I did that. So you're gonna get more foam. Obviously, I'm not using very much water here, so not gonna get like a ton of foam. You're gonna get more foam if it's like under running water, obviously. And then if they're in the shower, they're gonna be around a lot more water. But you're gonna get a lot of that like really dense, nice low foam. It's not going to be like super scrubby unless you want it to be, and you can add more scrubby things. So since sugar dissolves, the scrubby of it kind of dissolves pretty quickly, but you could add something like jojoba beads, or what are other little scrubbly things? A bamboo exfoliator is something I've been playing with a little bit lately. So you could add other scrubby things that don't like dissolve super quick, and then the scrubby is going to last a little bit longer. So it's really up to you like how you want to formulate it. But that was just like a teeny tiny bit. You can see that my bowl is still full of soap with like just a teeny tiny bit of water. So you really do get a lot of lather from it. And then if you're doing the whip soap, you get a ton of lather, especially when you do with like a loofah or a bath poof or whatever those things are called. So now my hands are wet and I have to touch things, so that's cool. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. If you have any questions about this, questions, you can ask it in the comments, you can ask in the Facebook group, you can tag me, and usually I'll see it, but sometimes I won't, so don't like, Facebook is weird with how they do things sometimes, so like sometimes I won't see something, but you can tag me if you have questions. And that's it for today. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for hanging out with me. Happy making. Boop. Oh, and if you're in Patreon, come on over to the Patreon. We're going to do Patreon after party at 2 o'clock. Bye. Happy making.